You recording?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get some time. Boom. All right, I'm gonna start it off. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lakers Lens podcast, episode 1, a deeper dive into everything Lakers. I'm joined by my co-host, Max Arquilla. Max?
What's up, everybody? How's everyone doing today?
Yep, so we're just to do a little intro real quick. A couple of huge lifelong Lakers fans. Looking to take a closer look at everything that's been happening, with the lockdowns, the bubbles, and looking forward to this season and what we can look forward to. So, Max, give me a little kind of backstory on your Lakers fandom.
So first, I just want to say I'm really happy to be here. I'm really excited for this podcast. I think we have two great minds, basketball minds. We played basketball. We have experience playing basketball, and we're diehard Laker fans, like you said. And what a crazy year! Lakers are going for the repeat. I'm really excited. I've been a Laker fan since I was literally a little baby because my parents were big Laker fans. So I just kind of adopted that, and I'm a diehard fan, man. I follow every single move they make, every single game. I followed them when they sucked. I know you did too. So it's really exciting, though. It's really exciting to see the squad, and I truly think this might be the deepest, not the best, because we haven't seen anything yet, but the deepest Laker team I've ever seen.
Yeah. No, my story is pretty similar to yours. I'd say your fandom goes a little bit further back, just because my original access to games was Clipper games, mostly because they were so cheap back in like the early mid 2000s when Lakers were super good and Clippers were just garbage, and we just go with my parents.
Garbage,
yeah, we'll get into that.
We'll get into that.
10 years later, they're still bad. But, I kind of, to be honest, like you kind of brought me onto the Lakers train, just us being like best friends and watching all the games together, playing basketball. I mean, I know your biggest, and I want to talk about Kobe, your biggest inspiration, like game wise, like how you modeled your game was after Kobe, like your jump shot, your footwork, that's kind of like who your inspiration was, and it modeled in your game. And
totally.
Yeah, I mean, just this year, man, like the beginning of the year, so tough.
Yep.
Just a freak accident, all of our inspirations, and just so many good years of basketball, and with this just an insane accident, like it's I still can't believe it happened.
I can't either, dude. I still, like, you even talking about it right now, I'm just like I can't even fathom what happened. It was it's still sinking in for me. That's how crazy it is. Kobe meant everything to me, and it's just he meant a lot to a lot of people. It's not just me, and it's a punch in, it's beyond a punch in the gut. It's a slice in the gut. I mean, I feel just heartbroken. I feel heartbroken for his family. And I think the saddest part about it is that he was like at a stage in his life that I think he was looking forward to his whole life, to just retire, just focus on his family. I think that's what we all want at the end of the day, and I think that's the most heartbreaking part. But he's an inspiration, man, and I'll never forget. He's a legend.
Yeah, it is weird as far as like the timing in his life, because you think of like a normal person really gets settled into their career at like 40, but he was at the end of his basketball career, just getting started with everything business.
Exactly.
And who knows what he could have done. It just,
he had
his foundation.
His mind was just, one of the smartest athletes I've ever witnessed. Just smart, like IQ, basketball IQ. I mean, the guy had a mind unlike anything, and he touched so many. But
and the motivation aspect was big for me. But let's. I'm sure we'll get back to Kobe on this podcast. several times. But I wanted to start the show, the official show. Now, this podcast we both agreed is like this current season and then the future Lakers, but we can't move forward without recapping the first championship for the Lakers in what, 9 years? No,
Yeah.
9 years. After just some tumultuous years.
Tough years.
Through thick and thin, you talk about your Kwame Browns, your Bynum,
Robert Socrates, Mabanga.
yeah, Sacre.
Nick
But let's
Young.
talk. Yeah, yeah.
Brutal,
just
man.
not
Just
good.
brutal.
But
Yeah.
I want to hear your thoughts on kind of the championship that we just won, and is it legit? Is it illegitimate? Does it come with a grain of salt? What do you think about it?
So, the first thing I want to say is I am so sick and tired of. I know, like, online, it's just the majority of people are trolls, but like the fact that there's actually like analysts out there that are saying it's illegitimate because it was a Mickey Mouse ring or whatever you want to call it. It was a bubble. No one wanted to be there. You know what? LeBron didn't want to be there either. Like, LeBron was vocal that he was struggling with it. Our best player. And you know what? He did his job. He came out there and kicked everyone's butt. So I'm tired of that. To me, it was actually harder to win in the bubble. You know, Lakers didn't have their fans. No one talks about that. That's an advantage for us. We have the best fans in the league. We didn't have our fans. So I think it's just frustrating to hear that around the league or around media, kind of just painting this picture that's just not true at all. In my opinion, it was the asterisk is not necessarily meaning that it was illegitimate. It means that it was a harder championship to win, in my opinion.
Yeah,
How about
I
you?
agree
What do
with
you
your
think?
point on. I agree with your point on it being harder in the sense that, like, for people that play basketball, I mean, we're talking about professionals here, but if you put like those guys in a gym by themselves, they're gonna play better without the fans, I think, in some aspects. Like, you take a guy like you saw it, like people that typically don't perform well under pressure, like say for instance Jamal Murray. Like, maybe you could argue that he played better in the bubble because it's just him, the basketball, in a gym. Like, sometimes I feel like the crowds, like the huge crowds, play an impact in the other direction, where you have players that aren't as good or players that don't perform as well on the spotlight actually thriving in the bubble because there's no one there that's watching them, screaming at them all the time. It's just like 30 people in there, and they're yeah. But I don't know. I think it's a. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. I was just gonna say, like, it's just everyone just tries to overanalyze this. It's like you're on a basketball court, you have refs, like, it's basketball, man. Like, at the end of the day, they won. It's just like, they deserve that just as much as any other ship. So,
and it comes down to like the core, just game of basketball. It's like, who's better?
Yeah,
you take out every other factor. It's just guys playing basketball in a gym, and the Lakers won. So that
exactly.
There's no other way to put it. But as we transition into this current season, we should acknowledge that teams like the Warriors, I think they did something like 120 days or 220 days, or they haven't played in months. Let's just say that. It's almost been like we forgot about their teams. Like, I play FanDuel and I check the rosters, and I just don't even remember seeing Curry in the NBA. Like, it's been so long.
I think it's been on the other hand, for us, for the Lakers, I think it was like 72 days or something like that since we last played. And remember, it's not like we just played regular season. Like, we're talking championship. Us and the Heat, man. Like, so, and that's, I mean, we'll kind of talk about it when we talk about, like, opening night against the Clippers, because that kind of ties into that, I think. But when we go into that segment, we'll talk more about the effects. Yeah,
it is weird because it's hard to tell whether, like, having only 70 days off keeps you fresh and ready to go, or you're like super tired and fatigued, versus like a team like the Warriors with 200 days off, are they ready to go or are they rusty? It's like it's hard to see what the difference is there, but we're 2-1 right now. We'll get into that. So we kind of had a little bit of data as to how fatigued we are from the championships. But I wanted to start the segment off for this year with kind of looking at our acquisitions and who we lost. So I'm just going to kind of feed you some names, and I want to get some reactions. So let's start with the people that we lost. And I'm looking at a name right now that is a big point of contention. Danny Green to the 76ers. How do you feel about that?
That move to trade him was probably, I don't want to say the best move, but up there is probably the best move Pelinka did this offseason. That was a trash contract. The guy, oh man, I can go on a rant if I wanted to about Danny Green. That guy robbed us of money. I'm just trying to be real here. Listen, I always want what's best for the Lakers, but it's frustrating when a guy's getting paid $16 million and he can't hit an open three to save his life. I mean, it gets to the point where it's ridiculous, dude. It gets to the point where it's like, are you really putting the max effort you can off the, in practice? And I mean, I remember a story, not to get off track here, but I remember a story with Kyle Lowry. And I'm not even like the biggest Kyle Lowry fan, but this gained a lot of respect for me. It was in the playoffs. And I remember he shot just terribly one game. I don't remember which one. And then there was a picture that came out someone took. He was in the gym at like 12 a.m. just getting up shots the day before the game. And it was just, he was so pissed off at himself that he was just working his butt. And you know what? Maybe Danny Green's he's just getting older and it's just that. But I don't know. To me, it just seemed like he was just going through the motions the whole year, and he was kind of a liability at times. We needed him to make those threes. I mean, there's so many games we could have just closed out if he could just hit consistent threes, and he just didn't. And that was his only job. That's all we asked.
Yeah,
yeah,
3-and-D.
3-and-D, yeah.
3-and-D he was 3-and-D without the three.
Exactly.
But I think a good testimony to what you were just saying about not coming up big is that one shot. I think it was it the Heat?
Oh, yeah.
It might have been the semifinals.
No. That was against the Heat. It was we would have won the championship. It was game 5.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Game 5.
Yeah,
he almost airballed a three. What? And this is what pissed me off about it. LeBron made the perfect basketball play. We got he just took what the defense gave him, drove into the lane. I think they triple teamed him, just whipped it out. Danny Green wide open for 3. Couldn't even barely graze the front of the rim. That's just unacceptable.
That's confidence right there.
Yeah.
It's confidence because anyone that plays basketball knows if you leave it that short, it's not your mechanics. Mm-hmm. It's nothing else but you just being not ready for the spotlight. And that was kind of a full encapsulation of what Danny Green has been to the Lakers. Yep. But we don't have to talk anymore about him. I'm gonna group these two guys into one because one got traded, one re-signed with a different team. Our two bigs from last year, JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard.
Okay, so this was actually, in my opinion, our biggest. So Dwight Howard was our biggest loss this offseason. That was a miss, in my opinion. Once again, we don't know all the behind-the-scenes stuff. We don't know if Dwight was like, I'm out of here because you guys want to sign Marcus Gasol. I don't know. All I know is that we could really use Dwight Howard. And we'll talk about this later in other podcasts and even this one maybe later on. But our rim protection's a big issue. We have a 6'8" Montrezl Harrell being our backup center right now. And he's a beast, but I mean, we need better rim protection. And losing McGee and Howard, I would love to have a guy come off the bench or just to have him to be able to protect the rim. And Dwight Howard, McGee, they brought us so much on, rim protection, defense. I just think defensively is what I'm really looking at. Not even offensively because they were kind of, limited offensively, couldn't spread the floor. But just defensively, I think we're going to miss that a lot. I trust Vogel to switch up the game plans game by game to try to figure it out, scheme differently. I think we might end up signing like a Dwayne Dedmon. I think that would be a good pickup, someone like that. But we'll see how the buyout market is and maybe trade market come later in the season.
Yeah.
But yeah, big losses definitely.
Yeah, like you, I'm more upset about Dwight personally because I feel like, he had his first run with us and it just did not go well. We all know that.
Oh, and then he tweeted that he was signing with us and then deleted it.
Yep.
That was just,
and he really changed his attitude when he joined us the second time, and he was like ready to win. He knew his role. He didn't have to be the star. He didn't have to be who he was in Orlando, and it really worked out for us. And like you said, we'll talk about Marc Gasol in a little bit, but the differences between Mark and a guy like JaVale or Dwight, who can literally jump out of the gym to protect the rim, is like you're not going to find that in Marc Gasol.
No.
Like,
but he brings other things that Dwight and JaVale didn't.
Exactly.
Passing and stretching the floor and stuff like that.
Yeah. But then we lose two. We lose JaVale and Dwight, who are essentially the same in that regard. And then you add Montrez, who he's shorter than them, and he's just like them, but he's a little bit shorter. So I don't know if that's a win.
If he was
we'll get into
6'11",
we'll get into but I don't know how you feel about this one. Let's talk about some of our guards. I'm just going to put them all into one category. We have Rajon Rondo, Avery Bradley, J.R. Smith, and Dion Waiters.
Okay, J.R. Smith, Dion Waiters, we can scratch that there.
Yeah.
That's not going to make any difference. So, Avery Bradley was a big loss. I actually was really hoping we'd re-sign him. I think he's one of the best perimeter defenders, on-ball defenders you'll find. I was actually at that Christmas Day game I was watching, and he looked great. He looked sharp. That's a big loss. I know this might surprise some people, but personally, I think the Avery Bradley loss was worse than the Rondo loss. The reason I say that, Rondo's getting older. He's really pretty bad in the regular season. I think we kind of forgot about that just because he stepped up in the playoffs, which was great. And don't get me wrong, Rondo, we probably wouldn't have won without him. And I'm not saying, saying anything too bad about him. But at the same time, I'll take Dennis Schroeder any day over him. It changes so much. Once again, I'm not trying to get into it too much with the current team, but Rondo's an inconsistent shooter. He's a terrible defender. He steps up in the playoff Rondo, but I don't know, man. I want a younger guy. I know you talk about this. You like young guys. I think it was nice that we got younger with this new roster. And I think that's important with signing AD to a 5-year deal. I think we need some young guys around him. So I was fine with letting him walk. I would have liked to re-sign Avery Bradley or Howard, but you can't get it all.
Yeah, that was one of my concerns with last season. And then the transition to this season was our team was pretty old as far as our best players and our starting lineup. Even Bradley himself is getting up there. He was on the Celtics championship team, I think.
How old is he?
He's got to be like 33 or something, 34, 32.
30.
Is he really?
30. Yeah, that's what I was like. I don't think he's that old. He's a veteran, but he's still got some juice in the tank.
Yeah.
He just had injury problems.
Well, yeah. It would have been nice to have him, but like you said, we won without him, so
exactly.
It's whatever. I think overall what we lost is not a big hit, so we'll transition into a couple guys. I want to start with a guy that we haven't touched on, and you know how I feel about him. His name's Wesley Matthews. Can I start with this one?
Go for it.
I watched a ton of Bucks playoff basketball this past bubble. Wesley Matthews something happened to him. I don't know what it was. When he was on the Mavericks, he was a good player. He was like 2 or 3 years ago, he was decent. He was a guy that he's a shooter, he can slice and dice, solid defender, but he would make his shots. I watched the Bucks play, he didn't do anything. He literally couldn't score the basketball. He played 30 minutes a game. He had 2 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. That was like his normal stat line. I don't see why we signed him. He doesn't provide any value.
Danny Green replaced him, right? Kind of?
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess. But Danny Green he played a lot more than Wes Matthews did. You just look at these first 3 games. Let me just look really quick.
I didn't know you were this down
15
on Wes
minutes.
Matthews.
I'm just pulling up his stats real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
2 points a game.
Dude, he's in a more limited role. Wait, 2 point
okay, well,
he's averaged that with us, or you're talking about with the Bucks?
No, with the Bucks.
God, I'm just looking at. I thought he averaged more than that. That's terrible.
I'm just looking at his from 2015 to 2019 for the Mavericks. He averaged 15, 16, 13, 12, 13. And you look at Milwaukee last year. He played 67 games, 25 minutes a game, 7.4 points.
Wow.
1.4 assists, 2 rebounds.
Wow, that's a lot worse than I actually thought.
So, I understand it. I just wish we could have gotten someone with a little bit more potential. I think if anything, Wesley Matthews is on the downfall. He's not going to get any better.
That's fair. I'm okay with him being a bench guy. Like, I'm okay with him just being a rotational guy, come in, try to, spread the floor a little bit, hit a couple shots. We have THT. We have depth. If he's not playing well, we can put in THT to give us more juice. So I'm okay with it. I don't know how much, what other guys we really could have gotten with the money we had. So I think it was just one of those situations where Plinka kind of had to pull the trigger, and it's not like, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
About that.
So I want to talk about our 3 main additions. We don't really have to talk about our re-signs. They're not huge, except for Anthony Davis. But key names are Montrezl Harrell, Marc Gasol, and Dennis Schroeder. And then we got Alfonso McKinney. That's pretty much it. But what do you think of those 3 guys, Harrell, Gasol, and Schroeder?
I'm very excited about it. I know you're not as high on Gasol than I am, but and I think, don't get me wrong, I'm not. Gasol's kind of worrying me with him being a liability on defense. I'm a little worried about that, kind of what we touched on before. But starting with Gasol, I do like that he can spread the floor out. He actually looked phenomenal last night. He was throwing dimes. And I love that we can add that to our offense because we have a lot of players that move good without the ball. Kyle Kuzma is he's great moving without the ball. And I think those back cuts, it just gives Vogel more ammunition to use on offense. And I like that. Defensively, I'm a little worried. So I'm content with that signing. Schroeder, honestly, my favorite signing. I think he has so much potential. I'm so excited for the future. It looks like we're going to get an extension with him. I don't know if you saw that report. They're in talks for like a 4-year max, maybe. He's 27, I believe. Super young, kind of what you're talking about. Young. I think he's got, he can spread the floor. He can shoot the 3. I would like him to work on that and be a little more consistent from outside and work on his mechanics a little bit. I think his mechanics are a little awkward sometimes. He's better shooting off the dribble. I would like him to work on his mechanics when he just, gets a pass, a whip out from LeBron, and he's just set shot because that's going to be important. But he is a feisty defender. I'm really impressed with his defense. He can get under guys' skin, and we're going to need that. There's a lot of good guards in the league. I can just picture it. Nets, Lakers in the championship, and Schroeder just getting into Kyrie. But anyways, I'm really happy about him. He's just, he's a phenomenal scorer, and I'm really impressed what I saw last year from him. He should have won 6th Player of the Year over Harrell, in my opinion. He's a stud, and I'm excited. Harrell, won 6 Man of the Year last year. Guy's an absolute animal. You need guys like that just come in and bring that energy, dude. Like, I mean, you kind of remind me of Harold in a way. Not necessarily because Matt here used to kind of be that energy guy when we would play. He would be like the guy that would set the tone. And I think Harold's kind of that guy. I really think he can lead that second unit, and I don't even have an issue with certain matches. Vogel being like, you know what, Harold, you're starting today. Gasol, you're coming off the bench with like a smaller, if there's like a smaller lineup. I don't have any issue with that. So I'm really excited with him. He does a lot of things on the court, a lot of the dirty work, and he's got a great offensive arsenal. I'd like him to keep working on that mid-range. That's going to come in clutch for us if he can start hitting that 15-footer. But I am very excited with the acquisitions.
Yeah, when I think of Harold, to be honest, I hated him on the Clippers.
Oh, me too. No, don't get me wrong. I'll be the first to say I hated him too. But I'm happy he's on our team because
he's one of those guys where it's like you love to have him on your team, but you hate to play against him.
100%.
Because he could like get like an and one, we're up by 25, and he just loses his mind. It's like, dude, relax, man.
So true.
But like you said, I mean, that's a big energy boost for us off the bench, and I think his strength and his ability to just get after it is something that we really need, especially in a game like last night. We're up, 30, like I said, and LeBron's not really trying. No one's trying, and he's the one that's like leading the charge to keep that lead.
That last year, there was a lot of games that were closer than they should have. And one thing I want to touch on defensively, another narrative that's really bothering me is that he's a bad defender. He's not the best defender in the world, but he's not a bad defender. He's a solid defender. The bubble, once again, we're talking about the bubble, and you were talking about how it affects certain people different. He was going through something personal. His grandma passed away, and prayers to his family and him, but and her, and he had so much going on. Dude, if you're not there mentally, you're not going to play well. So I think this whole narrative that he's a bad defender is just Laker haters just trying to, start something.
I think the Jokic matchup really just made him look bad, to be honest.
True. But Jokic will make anyone look bad unless he's AD, because AD will lock back anyone up.
I wanted to talk about my opinion on Schroeder real quick.
Okay.
I watched a lot of Thunder basketball too, just doing nothing last year in the bubble. Or during lockdown, just watching them. I wasn't in the bubble. But one of my things, and I don't think it gets brought up a lot, is consistency. That's one of my things with Schroeder, and you could watch him on the Hawks. You watched him last year. He has a slight bit of inconsistency in his scoring. He always plays hard. He always locks up, but like you said, his mechanics, I don't know if it's that or his scoring. I just want to read you the Rockets series from last year, the quarterfinals. Averaged about 33 minutes a game for the Thunder, so that's good burn. First 2 games, 12 points. Then he goes for 19, 30, 29. And then the last 2 games he goes for 13 and 6. So I'm looking at that, and I've seen it before. I want him to be able to be a guy that can consistently get like 15 to 18 points a game. Not have like those random games where he just doesn't do anything at all. That's one of the things that I'm looking for with him. And I think he can have some breakout scoring games. If LeBron's feeling like passing the ball a lot and Schroeder gets hot, I could see him going for like 40 or something a couple games, or 35. Because that's just what he does, but I'd like to see it more consistently.
And maybe that starting role will bring that out of him, because he's never been a starter before in his career. Or did he start for the Hawks? Maybe he started. I don't know.
I think he started for the Hawks, but they were just so bad it didn't really matter.
Yeah, exactly. So, maybe this role on a good team as a starter. Remember, he's also young too, so I'm hopeful for the best.
Yeah, and it's a funny thing we talked about a little bit last night in the group chat, where I was kind of giving Gasol a hard time. There was this one play at the end of, I think it was the first half. It was like an inbounds pass, and there was like 2 seconds left from out of bounds under the hoop, and he just dribbled the ball like 2 steps to the hoop and just completely lost the ball. And I'm like, he just doesn't look like
He's old. He's just old.
he's getting like
He's slow. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
he's slow. I miss that. That's once again like why I miss Dwight Howard. Like I just love. I mean, Dwight Howard's kind of like a veteran too, older, but like God, that guy has juice and he's just athletic.
Yeah.
It was like our identity last year, you know. And but we gained more offense this year, so I think it evens out.
Yeah.
All right, so. Should we go to break here and start the next segment, or do we have?
All right, folks, we are back with the Lakers Lens podcast. So a deeper look into everything Lakers. We're going to talk about the first week of Lakers basketball in the books. We clocked in at 2-1. Opening night. Clippers 116, Lakers 109. You want to talk about that, Max? What are your thoughts on that? I know it was like a week ago, but
so I'm actually completely okay with that loss. It was ring ceremony. I was just happy to see them get their rings. That was a great moment. Can we just touch that and just mention how awesome that was to see their families and that was just they deserved it, you know, because they sacrificed so much being in the bubble, being away from their family. So it was really nice to see their hard work paid off there. As far as the Clipper game, when I go into the game, I knew it was going to go two different ways. Either they were going to come out and just have a ton of adrenaline and, opening night, and they were going to come out, play really well, or what happened, it was my other, prediction. It was either going to go those two ways, and they came out lackadaisical. The Clippers looked like they wanted it. I mean, from the very start, you can just tell the Clippers played differently against us than other teams. Just lost by 50 points. Yeah, Kawhi was playing, but I mean, that team, it's like, I mean, every team, this is something, when you're the best team, teams play way harder against you. But the Clippers, man, they come to play against us, dude. Like, everybody shows up. Paul George just looks phenomenal. And they just came out, punched us in the throat, and we got down early. And, we can't get down early like that. That's something we need to really work on, and that we struggled with that last year. Paul George just went off. We came back. We cut it to 1, right, or whatever. And we just couldn't make a damn shot. And a couple notes here I wrote. I think AD needs to be more aggressive inside against the Clippers. I still think even with Ibaka, I think he can bang in there, cause fouls. He was kind of a little like settling for outside shots. He kind of does that sometimes. I think he kind of paces himself, kind of like LeBron. I think that's why they're so good, because they can just pace themselves for a whole game and a whole season, So that was one thing I wrote. I also put here that I think our wing defense, we talked about our rim protection. I think our wing defense can become an issue. I think we're okay with it right now. Wes Matthews cannot guard to save a life. And to go back to Wes Matthews, he got eaten a lot. Dude, when he guarded Kawhi, I was like, dude, let's just double at that point. You're better off just doubling. Because you're just not like it's a mismatch. He's undersized. He doesn't have the same step he used to have. So I think that could become an issue. Once again, these are why the buyout market happens, trade market. We'll see what comes. Who knows what, I kind of need to see how it plays out the rest of their season. And then I just think that there was just kind of like that championship hangover. It really was, I think they just came out so flat. Couple other things here. Sorry, really fast. I think Kuzma moved in this game off the ball really well. I really love the Gasol Kuzma action. I want to keep seeing more of that. I think it's just, are we going to be able to contain Paul George and Kawhi come playoff time? Or next hour play. Are we going to be able to contain those guys? If you don't contain one, the Clippers are deadly. They'll kill you. Just like Paul George did. So those are my takeaways. How about you?
You think this is kind of the feeling I got watching it, was that this was for the Clippers. This was kind of like the game that they didn't get to play in the bubble, where everyone in the media was talking about, it's going to be Lakers Clippers Western Conference Final. Lakers Clippers. We can't wait.
Yeah.
And we never saw them, and we won without having to see them. And maybe they feel like they should have had the chance to play us. So they maybe came out a little bit hotter than we did. I think that's very possible. But yeah, I totally agree with everything you said. Let me go through a couple stats here. Just the stat line from the game. I don't know if you love this performance from AD, but 31 minutes, 18 points, 2 assists, 7 rebounds. LeBron, 22 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. How do you feel about that from our stars?
I do not like that performance. Also, LeBron basically sat out the whole fourth almost. He just went out and never came back in. So they clearly were not taking this game as seriously as the Clippers were. AD should have 10 rebounds in that game. I don't care. He should have 10 rebounds in that game at least. Once again, I really truly believe AD against a team like the Clippers, he can feast inside. Everyone's like Serge Ibaka. He's solid, man. He's a good, solid veteran.
Yeah.
AD can eat him alive. And it's not even just the Clippers. I think that's something AD, I would like to see him develop more of his post game and get in the paint. He does it, but I think he's so skilled inside. I'd like to see more footwork. I'd like to see a little up and under, just some different things. I want to see him, he's still developing. He's still, that's crazy for me to say. AD's still developing. He's still getting better. I just like to see a little more from him, kind of establishing himself inside. So, yeah, but LeBron, I'm fine with LeBron. I don't really have an issue with that. I think it's just, I think he was honestly playing 70%. It just,
I think he does that on opening night for some reason.
Yeah, you're just
we lose a lot on opening night. We lost last year.
Yeah. They're trying to really just want to add really fast, and that's another thing too with this game is they're trying to figure everything out. Remember, this is a new team. There's a lot of new players. Vogel's trying to figure everything. Vogel said in the post game conference, he was like, we're still trying to figure out our rotations. We're trying to figure everything out. It was kind of a feel out game. And that's why it's kind of a bummer that it had to be the Clippers. I would like to play the Clippers now or, in a week or something when we at least have a few games under our belt. But that was all I want to say.
Yeah. Well, here's a testimony to what you just said about the rotation. Marc Gasol, 12 minutes, 0 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. Montrezl Harrell off the bench, 32 minutes, 17 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. And like what you were saying earlier, as far as him stepping up off the bench and playing those big minutes, where it seems like this season could be Marc Gasol is kind of like the placeholder starter, which I feel like the Lakers like to do, like McGee last year.
Yeah.
Plays the first couple minutes and then doesn't play the rest of the game. Obviously that's not a good performance for Gasol, but we'll get into how he played the other night. But yeah, and you see Schroeder too, almost a triple-double, 14 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists. Really like to see that in his first game as a Laker.
See, he's already being more consistent. That was something you wanted, to see improvements. I'm seeing some consistency already here. It's early, but and the whole placement thing of playing Gasol, I go back and forth. I think I get it in a way. You want to keep that chemistry in sync. But like I was saying earlier in the podcast, God, if you have a good matchup, just start Harrell. I almost just want to see it. I just want to see Harrell starting with LeBron and AD. AD and Harrell down. I can just picture it. AD doing a little sweep hook, missing it. Harrell tip dunk. It was just dominate, dude. I don't know. I want to see Vogel experiment a little bit. I don't know if he's going to, because I feel like this happened last year too. You're right. He just always started McGee until the playoffs. And then he experienced. It was kind of weird. I don't know how that worked out. The Rocket
I
series.
trust him. Yeah. I mean, that's a weird matchup, but I trust Vogel. Plus, he kind of has that with a little bit of like experimental juice, because people trust him now that we won.
Mm-hmm.
So he can kind of play around and see what he wants to do, and no one's going to really give him crap for it because
he has some house money to burn.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. Let's move on to Christmas Day. We scored 138 points against the kind of handicapped Mavericks. No Porzingis, and Luka did not look great that game. He looked all right, but another thing I want to bring up is I noticed this a lot, especially with the new LeBron Lakers, relatively new, is games like this where a fire gets lit under the Lakers' butt after they lose. I see that pretty consistently. Is you'll see a game where they lose that, it just doesn't look good at all. They come out the next game, they win by 25, and they score 140 points. Is that something that you see?
Definitely, and that's how it should be. You should be pissed off you just got your butt kicked, and you should come out and make a statement, especially when you're one of the best teams in the league. I think here I'll go over my takeaways here. I was watching some highlights of that game today, and one thing I wanted to say, and I just kind of popped into my head watching this game, we need to fast break more. We are dominant when we fast break. All last year, I like how Gasol's getting these outlets out like fast, quickly. Let's keep doing that. We have so much talent on this team and so much speed. We can outrun teams. KCP, Schroeder, AD likes to leak out, and then you give the ball to LeBron. I mean, LeBron's like magic in the open floor. I mean, he's going to make the right choice. And then we have, some spot out. We have a lot of 3-point shooters too that can spread out in transition. So I want to see more of that. I had added here the rotations for me are fine. We kind of touched on this, or I touched on this before. But I still would like to see in a game like this where, they have Dwight Powell starting as center. That's not a good matchup for Gasol. And Gasol didn't play well. I'm sure we'll go over the stats. He didn't play well in this game. I would like to put Harrell in there, put him on Powell. I know Vogel kind of likes to keep it the same, but I don't know. With that lineup, no Porzingis, I don't know. I would have liked to see an adjustment there. But once again, I trust Vogel. I think just role players need to continue to make those open threes. I said this all last year. You remember I said it's going to come down to the KCPs. Last year, like the Rondos even, the, Avery Bradley's last year, this year, the Wesley Matthews even, the Schroeder, just all the role players, right? You got LeBron AD, I mean, not even Schroeder, like LeBron AD, Schroeder, Harrell, like those other guys, Kuzma's. We need them to be consistent from 3-point arc. We need it, dude. Like, we will be unstoppable if Kuzma shoots like he did last night. And then one last thing, Harrell, I really want to – I did already actually touch on this, but I had just added his mid-range game. If he can get that going, it'll be tough to stop this.
Yeah. Let me throw some stats at you. Talking about the bounce back, better numbers for LeBron and AD, 22, 10, and 7 for LeBron in only 31 minutes. Anthony Davis, 28, 5, and 8 in 30 minutes. Of course, that's because of the fourth quarter. They didn't play a ton, but we still scored 39 points in the fourth quarter and 30 points in every quarter at least. So lots of scoring. You see other numbers like Kuzma had 13, 6, and 2. Markieff Morris had 9, 7, and 2 off the bench, which is like that's a good number in 15 minutes.
I love Keith.
Harrell 22 and 7. Schroeder right around that number, that 18 number that I like, 18, 6, and 2. Marcus Gasol 2 and 9, but we'll get to we'll get to last night.
Yeah, last night.
KCP 8 points, 2 assists, which I think is okay if you have other guys carrying a lot of that weight. And I wanted to bring something up. just watching these first 3 games, and you talk about THT, Taylor Horton Tucker,
We haven't
Talon
even
Horton Tucker.
talked about him.
Yeah, he seems to me doing this year what Caruso did last year.
I like that.
Um,
That's a good point.
and Caruso kind of graduated into like another role. Maybe he's not like going to be as good this
They're
year as he
different
was
roles,
last year.
but I know what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
But like their status on the
Yeah,
team,
for
like
sure.
Caruso's kind of solidified his role as he's not the new guy anymore. He's not like we trust him, right?
Yeah.
Now we're waiting for THT to prove to us what he can
We
do,
can trust
and
him.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we've seen a lot. I mean, we saw preseason doesn't really count, but he went for what 30 something, 32,
Yeah,
something like that.
33,
One of
I
those
think.
games. Yeah.
33, yeah.
And just even this game, you look at this: 7 minutes, 5 points, two assists. Like that's good. You can just tell that he's coming off the bench. He'll hit like a deep three. He'll have a nice take to the basket, a dunk, like an electrifying dunk. Kind of Caruso-ish stuff, but I think his potential is much higher.
I agree. I am so ecstatic about this guy. I mean, I have so many good things to say about him. He's 20 years old. I mean, give this guy some time. I mean, not everyone's Luka Doncic. No one's going to be. I mean, that's a once in a generation talent. But I mean, this guy is showing so much promise. His length. He's built like a basketball player, and he has a shot there that could really turn into something nice. I love the way he navigates. He's crafty. He moves well in the paint. He finishes really well. He's not getting the calls. I don't know if he's past couple games he's played. There's been a couple plays I was like, that's a foul, and they're just not giving that to him because he's a young guy. He's gonna have to play through all that. It's different in the regular season. You even saw yesterday he had a little feisty defender on him. I forget who it was. It's gonna be tougher. It's gonna be a step up, But that guy has so much promise, so much potential, and I am just so excited to have another asset on our team, another guy we can throw in there and really could turn into something special.
I agree. Totally agree. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does this season, especially, praying for no injuries, but if we happen to see a role where he becomes the first point guard off the bench or even the starting point guard at times, excited to see what that does for him. Maybe like down the road, I'm just kind of foreshadowing a bit, but like, let's say we lock in like the 1 seed in the West, and we don't want to play, all these guys like LeBron.
Oh, yeah.
You see him playing 35, 40 minutes in like the last 5 games of the season. I think you see him like average 25 and 10. Like that's the kind of numbers he can do when he's given the green light. Yeah, totally.
He's blocking shots. Like, I mean,
yeah. Let's move on to last night. Pretty much just your standard just takeover against the Timberwolves. Now they didn't have Cat, they didn't have Anthony Towns.
We didn't have AD though.
D'Angelo Russell had 4 points. Yeah.
What happened to D'Angelo Russell? Dude, he looked terrible last night. I couldn't believe how bad he looked, dude.
Yeah, I mean, this lineup, you look at D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, Naz Reid, Josh Okogie, and Jake Layman. That should just be the
worst defensive team in the NBA. I don't even think. That team is atrocious defensively, dude. Last year, isn't that where 80 scored or 80 had 50 something, and we scored 100 and almost 50 points or something? Do you remember that game last year? That was against the Wolves.
Yeah, I do. I think it was. Yeah, it was in Minnesota too.
Just 150. Yeah.
But the scoring was really spread out. We talk about Kuzma right out the gates, just on fire.
Confidence.
I think he hit 4 threes in the first quarter, something like that, or 3 in a row. LeBron kind of took a back seat last night. He was a floor general, but only 18, 5, and 9 for a game you might expect him to have bigger scoring numbers without
That's
AD.
fine by me. If we're winning, I'm totally fine with him getting. How many minutes did he have? Does it say? Yeah, I love that. Give me that every night, dude. I don't care. He can rev it up in the playoffs. If we need him to score, he can. He's LeBron James. So
yeah, and you look at the stat line. I mean, that stat line 18, 5, and 9 is similar to the Clippers one, but just looks so much better this game.
Totally.
As far as what he did. Let's see. Schroeder, kind of not an off night, but mellow, 11, 4, and 4. The scoring was really spread out. I mean, you look at Alfonso McKinney had 8 points at 8 minutes. Keefe had 7. Wes Matthews had 4. Caruso had 7. So really spread out numbers. Horton Tucker, 21 minutes, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. And your boy, Marc Gasol, 12 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. Triple-double watch. What do you think about Gasol last night?
He was great. I'm super excited. Finally, we saw the Gasol that we thought we had signed. Just dishing. Once again, terrible defense on some of those plays, those back doors. I mean, that should not happen. But, man, he was throwing dimes all around the floor. He was nailing some deep threes. He even had a nice little swim move into the lane for a continuation and one. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna get this every night from him, but I mean, he just looked a lot more like Marc Gasol than he did in the first 2 games. So I really want to see this carry over. I hope it's just him kind of breaking off a little rust. And maybe he's kind of getting back into the swing of things. And remember, he's a veteran too, and he's pacing himself probably more than any other player because he knows I just want to get to the playoffs healthy, and then he can turn it up as well. So I think that sometimes people, especially Laker fans, we look so deep into the regular season, but these guys are such professional athletes, are such professionals, and are such, especially the veterans, they know what they're doing. Sometimes they do the bare minimum to just get by. And I just hope this carries on tonight for Mark.
Well, you saw LeBron go down with he's had a few ankle tweaks, it looks like. And that's concerning to me just because how old he is. And you talk about, a point of argument is load management. And the Clippers went under a lot of fire for that last season. Are you worried about kind of the fabric of our team where you have nights like maybe LeBron and AD aren't actually that hurt, but they still sit out?
I think so. I think this year's different just because of COVID and everything that's happened. I think it's an exception here for the teams that were deep into the playoffs just because of that short break. I'm against load managing, but like I said, to me, this is an exception year. I just, the strain that was on their bodies. I mean, basketball is such a grueling sport. You only know if you play it. You need time to recover. 82 games in a season. It's a lot.
There's something strange going on. I don't know. It probably has to do with COVID, but there's like a weird amount of back-to-backs this season.
Yeah, they're changing how they basically they're limiting travel. So I think we played the Spurs back to back or something. They're trying to get out as many games as possible with one team so you can, it limits your travel.
Yeah. But I mean, even tonight we're in Portland, right?
It's in LA.
No, it's at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just go, yeah. I mean, back to back, you think about, we're going to preview. That's a good segue into this week's games. We have 4 games, but tonight we're playing the Blazers at home on the tail end of a back to back. So, do we know if AD's playing?
AD's playing. He's probable. LeBron and Caruso are questionable. I was actually trying to right now go on Twitter to see if I could find anything on it. But I can't. I don't think it's been out yet. So let's assume LeBron doesn't play. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be really tough. I'm a little nervous about this game. I think the Blazers are a really solid team. They're obviously going to be a playoff team this year. God, Dame Dollar, the guy can shoot from anywhere.
Mhm.
And the thing with the Blazers is they're so streaky. They got those two guys, McCollum and Lillard. You saw McCollum drop 30. Was it a 40 piece? 43. Yeah, he went off. He had like 9 threes. They're so deadly. You just don't know who's going to go off. It's going to be a big game defensively, I think, for us. With LeBron and AD, if LeBron plays, I feel a lot better. But with LeBron out, I don't know. I'm a little hesitant about this game, actually. I don't know how you feel about it. I think it's going to be an interesting one.
I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
Back to back, Blazers they don't like us.
They don't, yeah.
We kind of took them to town, although they were injured in the playoffs pretty heavily.
Nurkic on Gasol is going to be rough.
Yeah,
I just got to say.
We did have a good. Yeah, we did have. I mean, we handled them pretty easily in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But tonight they look like they're looking for revenge. McCollum is hot as ever. Lillard, he got hurt in that playoff series, so he's looking for some sort of revenge. So I think they're coming out a lot like what you saw in the Clippers game. They're going to come out hot, and we are sore to say the least. I mean, you can't tell me LeBron's ankle's not a little sore.
No, he tweaked that.
Just guys that played heavy minutes last night are going to be a little bit slower. I think you're going to see a bigger rotation off the bench, bigger minutes for guys like I think like you'll see more minutes out of like KCP actually, and you'll see like THT out there. If Caruso plays, you'll see a lot of him. Keefe, if he's playing, I think you're going to see a lot of minutes out of him. Just going as deep as possible on the bench while still, staying solid on all fronts, offense, defense. So I think it should be an interesting game. I think Anthony's fine, probably.
Yeah, I think it was precautionary. And I think this might be a bench game for us because if LeBron's out, Caruso's actually questionable too. I don't know if you saw that. So that could hurt us as well.
Is his neck?
It's his hand or something. I think they said like a hand strain. I remember correctly. But this could be a game where the Blazers come out, like you're saying, hot. Lillard hits like 4 threes in the first few minutes, or like McCollum hits like a ton of shots. We have to call a timeout. It might be one of those games where we get ourselves in a little hole. I have to say, I could really see that happening. But then I could see that second unit chipping away, getting us back into it, and changing kind of switching the momentum. So I wouldn't be surprised if tonight, and Laker fans out there, don't freak out if the Blazers come out firing. That's just how the Blazers are. They're really skilled offensively, but they have a lot of gaps and weaknesses defensively, which we exposed last year in the playoffs. Also, I think AD can really step up, and if LeBron is out, and he could actually be the difference maker if AD just starts. And he could beat you in a ton of different ways, but if he gets hot, he could be the difference.
Let's just do a quick run through because I'm realizing now that the games later in the week kind of depend on how each game before it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we talked about, Lakers a big bounce back team. But what are your predictions? If we have 4 games, what's the record for this week ending on Sunday? We have Blazers tonight, Spurs back-to-back, ending it with the Grizzlies on Sunday. What do you think the record is? 4 games.
I think we'll slip up one of those games. I think we'll go 3-1. That's my prediction. I think the Spurs will take care of. I don't really have an issue. I'm hesitant. I'm a little going back and forth. I could see Grizzlies gave us some weird issue. I remember that game last year where we just got destroyed by the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
That was weird. That was a weird game.
Yeah.
Grizzlies, once again, we're a better team. We should win. But for some reason, I get kind of trap game in my head for that game. I could honestly see us losing tonight and then winning the next 3.
That's kind of how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Just with everything considered, back-to-back, Blazers are,
LeBron
like you said, a streaky team. LeBron out. I can see it. And
And even if LeBron plays,
That's just
he might
realistic.
not be 100%, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's just realistic, but we're looking forward to it. 4 games is a pretty tough load in a week. So we'll see what happens as far as rotations and who plays and who doesn't. I think you're going to see the stats are kind of all over the place, which I'm looking forward to diving into next week. But as we wrap up the show here, Max, I just want to throw a few random stats from around the league at you and get your reaction. This is one that popped out to me, and I didn't see much of it, but I'm looking at this. Charlotte Hornets, Terry Rozier on 12-23 went for 42 points.
your boy.
On 15 of 23 from the field.
Ooh,
he missed 8 shots.
Did you see that
42
dunk
points.
on KD? Oh, yeah, I sent it to you. Oh, my.
Yep. He's on a different level this year. I think he's got a bone to pick with his expectations because, you know,
They got some guards over
Kemba's out. It's like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's Kemba versus him. Like they're like interchangeable and they switch teams.
Yeah.
So like they're kind of in a competition for who can be better. And Terry is just coming out of the gates hot.
Yeah, he's an exciting player to watch. He's fun to watch. I like him a lot. I think Devontae Graham is a nice player to watch. They got some guards because they got LaMelo now. LaMelo's out there throwing dimes.
Yeah.
Miles Bridges. I mean, that guy has a lot of potential. They're young. They're a team that I can see every once in a while beating a contender just because they're so young and fast and quick and, you know, young. I think that's the key word. A lot of these veteran teams, you know, kind of what we were talking about before.
They're not going to make the playoffs, but
yeah, exactly.
They're not going to make it, you know. But another quick one I want to throw at you. I don't know if you probably saw it, but Tatum banked 3 over Giannis to win the game. Did you see that?
Yeah, he got a little lucky there. I mean, you can't guard that any better.
Yeah.
But I hate to say that with Banks because at the end of the day, if you make it, you make it, and no one really can say anything, right? I don't like discrediting someone because they bank a shot because I used to do that, and it's like, hey, I made it. Celtics are an interesting team for me. I'm really interested to see how they do this year. I think they're going to surprise people. I think Jaylen Brown's kind of the guy I'm looking at. I think he has a lot to prove, and I think he wants to prove that he's an all-star. And I can really see him having actually a really good – everyone's like Tatum. I could see Jaylen Brown having a really good year this year. So I'm going to be interested to see how the Celtics do. I think they'll be top 3 in the East. It'll probably be Bucks, Nets, Celtics, in my opinion, in some order. So, yeah, I'm excited to see.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And then last thing – kind of a story time thing, but I wanted to get your take on Kawhi getting popped in the face by Serge Ibaka, his teammate. And I wanted to ask you specifically, because I know you had a similar incident with your own mouth getting hit in the face. You know a little bit how that feels, right?
Yeah, it's not fun at all. It's really painful. So what happened with me, I actually fortunately did not have to get stitches like Kawhi did. I think Kawhi had to get like 8 stitches. I got popped with an elbow right in my face, bit through the middle of my tongue. I still have a scar. I couldn't eat for weeks. It was absolutely painful. I couldn't feel my tongue for a long time. So it's a painful injury. I mean, it's, you know, people just think, oh, you get popped in the mouth all the time. If you like get popped to where you're gushing blood, like that's just not fun. That's not something fun to go through, and it like messes you up kind of mentally a little bit. So I think Kawhi's fine from what Ty Lue said. I think he just got some stitches. He should be back soon, so I'm glad he's okay. I never want to see anyone get hurt, but dude, God, that looked ugly. It looked like he was like passed out on the floor.
Yeah. He was bleeding all over the court.
Yeah.
It just sucks, like, especially when it's your own teammate. You're like, what's the point? Like, come on. And Serge Ibaka, I saw some stuff on Twitter, like he's known to be kind of loose with his elbows, so that's even worse. Like, it's just, you know, you at least want it to be like your opponent, so you can get mad at them, but you can't be mad at Serge Ibaka.
Totally.
Oh man. Anyways, looking forward to a good week of Laker basketball.
Me too.
Gonna have some good games. Hopefully, we're gonna see, like you said, 3-1, maybe 4-0. That'd be a pretty solid week for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking forward to the podcast in general. I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode. Looking forward to many more.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say, Max?
No, that's basically it. Give THT more minutes. That's the last thing I want to say.
Yeah, what's your closing thing to look forward to this week?
I actually do have a couple other things I want to just close with here for the Lakers going forward.
Yep.
One thing I kind of touched on it, but once again, I think our ball movement in general, not just Gasol making those passes, but just in general, our movement without the ball and our ball movement kind of reminded me of the old Warriors, just movement, screens, constantly moving, making the defense work, creating double teams, ball screen, then we're going to do an away screen, and just different sets, confusing the defense, constantly being unpredictable. I think we have so much talent. We can do so many things. I would love to be in Vogel's position and have the power to be creative. So that was one thing I noticed, and I'm excited for going through this season. I want Caruso to run that second unit. I think Markieff needs to stop settling for threes so much. I'd like to see him get stuff to the basket. I noticed a couple of plays yesterday. He kind of settled for a three where he could have just done a pump fake, taken to the hoop. There was a lane wide open for a layup. I just want to see him that was something with him personally. And give THT more minutes. That's the main thing, man. Feed the young guy, man. I just want to see what he's got. I mean, I've already seen some of it, but I have that in all caps here on my notes. Give THT more minutes. But yeah, those are kind of my last thoughts.
Yeah, we'll see. I totally agree. I think you'll see him get more minutes, especially if the first 3 quarters go in the Lakers' favor. He can just kind of run the show the fourth quarter, which is good PT for him.
Yeah, and I hope we're able to close out teams, because last year we weren't really able to do that. I think how deep we are now, it's going to give LeBron AD that rest, close out games, because we would get leads and then, LeBron would have to play in the fourth, and it's like, can we just finish this? So I'm hoping to see that this season more.
Cool. Well, yeah,
thanks
I
for
think
listening.
That was a pretty solid first episode.
Yeah, thanks for listening,
guys. Catch us on Spotify, YouTube. We're going to get an Instagram going too. We'll post highlights and stuff and our opinions, quick takes on the game. So follow us there. We'll put a link in the description. We're not sure what the handle is yet, but we'll get that to you, and stay tuned for more episodes next week. This is the Lakers Lens podcast, giving you a deeper look into everything Lakers. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You can follow me on Twitter at Max Arquilla, MAXARQUILLA. I like to tweet a lot about the Lakers. And yeah, if you want to follow me, go ahead.
Yeah, follow Max. I'm not huge on Twitter, but maybe we'll get one going for the podcast.
That'd be great. Yeah, maybe we'll make a new one because I talked about football as well. So I don't know if everyone wants to see that stuff too, but maybe I'll make a new account dedicated for this podcast, and I'll let you know next round.
Cool.
All right.
We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Sweet. Thanks, guys.